Have you guys ever enjoyed a game very much that it has blatantly become a part of your life? It affects you socially and changes the way how you think. Your attitude revolves around that game, you know? You start thinking about the game a lot, start enjoying it, or you start hating it. That is my relationship with some of the games that I play, actually. I used to have that kind of relationship with Warframe when I was heavily into it a couple years ago, waiting for Excalibur Umbra to come out, and then finding out the Chinese got Excalibur Umbra Prime and that whole exclusivity thing and sucked and blah 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 blah. And during that time, I was like, damn, Warframe kind of sucked. And we over here had to wait for a couple of years until Excalibur Umbra got released. We only had the information about him, saw him, and then we got the sacrifice trailer. But even then, that blatantly wasn't enough. You know? We wanted more. We wanted Umbra because we wouldn't have gotten Excalibur Prime as a console player. Let me add that we wouldn't have gotten Excalibur Prime. That's something that we're definitely not getting. So we have to then cope essentially and pray. And years later, when we finally got Excalibur Umbra, we did the quest and everything. We're just blown away. Like, oh my god, we got Excalibur Umbra finally. It came with the new what do you call them? The new mods, the Umbra mods and everything. Umbra Former was introduced. A lot of cool stuff came with that update, right? That is still implemented in Warframe today. Another game, right, would be like FGO for me. I love FGO, even though I quit it. During the dead months that we would have, where there's a bunch of reruns or newer content, or the 6 month waits that we would have to do in between story beats, like what was it? Olympus and between Olympus and Atlantis was 6 months, yes? 4 to 6 months, something like that. But we have to wait quite a while for story beats to come up in FGO. And it's something you get really used to, waiting to like half a year or quarter of a year for you to continue to play the game. And they try to satiate us with events in between and yada yada. And don't even get me started on Final Fantasy 14, right? If you're a 14 player, you know what waiting is like in 14 between the point 0.5 updates, trying to get new content, trying to get new gear. You know, if you played the marketplace and you want new battle gear, new crafted gear, you have to wait literally months for new content. And Final Fantasy is still in a dry spot right now. If you ask anyone, they will tell you, yeah, the game pretty much is dead right now. Not a lot of new content. But the one thing that all these games that I list have in common, and I can even throw another example, which would be Destiny, right? Destiny is a game that I also love. I still keep up and I watch Dado, right? You guys remember his old name? Dado does Destiny, you know? I still keep up with him daily. I keep up with Rainbow Six Siege. It's a game that I also like playing. I keep up with Macy J, Gregor, Bikini Body sometimes. Rest in peace to Anthony Pit One. You know, stuff like that. And if I'm going to quote anybody, I would quote Gregor, and he does say this well, and he means it, does it. And whenever he discusses his feelings about Siege, it resonates with me, and it makes me think back to my love for gacha games. Okay? And every time I find something that I love, I try to get invested. I check out the community, and I see different things. And if there's one thing that's true, is people tend to have a unhealthy parasocial relationship with these type of games. They get very invested, they get very demanding, and they treat it like it's their love life, and this game is their partner. And when this game disappoints, they lash out. They go to sources like Reddit, Twitter, 4chan, and they just go off. They start acting like this game cheated on them after 4 years of marriage, and they don't know how to act. And honestly, it's frustrating and sad to see at the same time. And when I'm thinking about Honkai Starrail, right, I think that this game has a lot of potential. You can't even say that this game doesn't necessarily have the backing or the money, because it has broke records in terms of sales and money. Sealay alone has made Hoyo over 100 million, right? You can make the argument and try to say that, oh, but Locha was the worst selling. He only made like 60 million or 40 million. And it's like, well, I mean, that's still really huge in the grand scheme of things. It is the current lowest selling to date. Granted, the game just came out. He was what? The third or what was he? The third or fourth limited character that we got, right? Something like that. Fourth, are you really going to compare that and say it's a problem? It's really not. The game just came out. And that's something people have to understand. The game just came out. And I think that those players that have come from Genshin, or those players who haven't played other gacha games, they have this idea in their head what they want this game to be and how it should be ran. And when they're not getting that, they just lash out completely. And honestly, you guys really do need to chill and take a step back and just breathe for a second. Lay your head, grab a nice glass of water, stand up and say, damn, that was crazy, but it's going to be better days ahead of us. And that's honestly true. There is going to be better days ahead of us if you're going to continue to play Honkai. And you guys have to realize that, because I doubt that they will put this much effort into this game and not provide us with the quality content that we will get. Tectone said it best in his video, right? He's not trying to white knight the game, right? What he's trying to do is simply say that quality over quantity is better. I will say, I myself wished it was a little longer and the cliffhanger that we got was extended a little bit more in a voiced cutscene of maybe like a minute or two, so we can have a smoother send off. But that's just me. I just wanted it to be a little bit smoother, because the cutoff point we got felt a little bit too abrupt. And what else can we do on this world in particular? There is a lot we can do with this world in particular. There's the remnants of the Sanctus Medicus. There's Tingyun. There's Jingliu. Jingliu has appeared in like 3 or 4 pieces of media for this game, and we still haven't actually seen her outside of the Yanqing companion quest. So they hint at a lot of stuff with the Lofu and the Jianzhou, so we still have content here. And this is something that I think you guys need to understand when it comes to gacha games. Their development cycle and update cycle can be a bit slow, but there is a lot of pressure on their end to deliver quality content, right? FGO takes 4 to 6 months to pump out a new Lost Belt. If you play on the NA server, you may get it early, right? Because NA is just that great. We get updates early, system mechanics early. It is fantastic over in NA. Once it started to pick up the subtitles for the Noble Phantasm animation lines, one of the best additions I have ever seen. And honestly, it was fantastic. Like, small updates like that. Right now, Honkai is of course going to get that treatment. You guys need to give it time. When it comes to updates, comes to things like that, quality over quantity is much better. In 1.2, I don't like the fact that it was a little bit short, and I don't like the fact how the story, I just wish it was a little bit longer, it ended at a different point. But I understand. Right? It's, for me, as much as I don't really like it too much, I honestly enjoyed the story. It was quite good, actually. Dare I say, really good, honestly. I had a lot of fun. And my friends were in call in Discord, and we were just gushing over it nonstop. The cutscene with Blade and Yanqing and Dan Hang and Kafka, that whole sequence, oh my god, I was screaming nonstop. Absolutely screaming nonstop. Right? And then with the new boss, that whole thing, it was really good. It was just quality content. That was good. I personally think that it was worth the wait to see all that, but I want more in terms of story beats, story characters, which we will be getting. And it's not like the devs don't listen, because if they themselves can acknowledge that the part where Dan Shu felt really lackluster from main story content, and they had to then say, all right, we're going to rework parts of the story for this upcoming update in 1.2 to make it better, and they did that on top of what they were already planning, and this is what we got. They delivered. Honestly speaking, they truly delivered. Right? So when Tectone is defending the devs of Honkai and the game itself, what he's really trying to say is, hey, honestly, just give the game 5 more minutes. We still need that 5 more minutes for the game to develop, right? Now, it is true. If we do get one new world per year, that would suck. Because at the end of his video, they were talking about that. We would have to stretch out story content very, very much, and that would be horrible. Nobody wants that. But if it's less than that, we get a world every couple of months. Let's say we get a world every 4 to 6 months, right? And then we get mini worlds like the Zhenzhou and the Lofu in between. That would be perfectly fine, to be honest with you. And then we get events in between then. Let's say one patch is like a downtime patch, and we just get a bunch of events littered in between. That's perfectly fine. That is how gacha games work. There will be dead months, dead patches, right? Not every Honkai Starrail patch will be absolutely peak. It won't be Kino. It will not have the best writing. It will not win a global award, right? These things will happen with gacha games, and Honkai Starrail is no exception. It had a really strong start, and it is still currently very promising. But please, for the love of God, the people that take this game very seriously and let their emotions get the better of them, my advice to you is to honestly, dude, just calm down. Just have that glass of water, stand up, stretch, and exhale. Things will get better from here. And the people that like to make senseless arguments and just cause unnecessary problems, you will have that in just about every community, right? And if we go towards something else that has happened in the Honkai community, you look at Gacha Smack, right? The drama with him going on. Now, I've been looking at Gacha Smack for quite some time. When the game first came out, and I was like, damn, this fella kind of nice, I kind of like the way that he thinks. And I wasn't verbally saying what I was thinking at the time in terms of how I want to build stuff and how I think the game works. And when I was viewing his content, I was like, damn, he's relatable, you know, like I understand what he's saying, and this is kind of what I was thinking as well. I'm glad that like we have someone like him to give it to us straight, you know, not being around the bush. He's like, yo, these are the numbers. Here is this, here's this is this. His attitude can be a bit abrasive if you aren't used to that, right? But I would say he's a pretty reliable guy. If you're looking for certain types of building theory craft, if you want the nerd stats and the nerd numbers, sure. And the current drama around him is very silly. It is redundant and childish. I'm not trying to. It's gonna come off as me like riding him and defending him at every point in turn in my upcoming argument. But to be honest with you, in an RPG like this, not an open world action game, not like Genshin, not like Weather and Waves and all of them, in an RPG, in like a turn-based Final Fantasy style RPG, where numbers and points and decimals like add up, they get bigger, the damage numbers get higher, blah 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 blah. You're trying to min max, you're trying to hit these thresholds, you're trying to do these goals. At a certain point in games like these, it becomes really redundant and it becomes really unnecessary and tedious to truly go for BIS, which is your best in slot. Now, if you're a 14 player and you're raiding savages, you're doing those kind of tiers, right? I can understand why you would want biz, especially if you're doing savages and you're trying to do ultimates and you're trying to clear content. That I can understand. That type of content is for hardcore players, and they would want biz. They would want these sort of things to give them that extra edge. Because in that game, right, they have enrage, they have damage checks that are kind of brutal. They're really hard sometimes, and you will ripe. Do you guys remember, I don't even know the official name for it, but it's the Thornton Ultimate, right? When they were doing the world first for Thornton's Ultimate, and when meteors dropped, remember when people had the LB, one with their tank in order to survive as they were rotating, and the healers still had the output healing? Yeah, man, like, honestly, it's moments like that where your gear matters and your strategy matters, right? But as time continues, people realized, oh, that is a strategy we can do, or we can cheese it with some healing, or we can do this, or we can rotate like 5 seconds earlier before the animation, blah, 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 right? People tend to learn and improve as time goes on, but there are multiple strategies and layers to how to achieve an end goal. But at the end of the day, all of these strategies are just different options leading you to the same result. And sometimes that same result, the differences between those strategies can be like, damn, that was 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 2 seconds different. We had a DPS loss here of 0.2 on the parse, right? Or 0.3 for like the Dark Knight because they can't get within rage, or the healer dropped their dot, you know? All of these damage increments and charts and facts, right? If you aren't parsing for like gold constantly, aren't trying to get world first, or you aren't trying to build up your like resume to get recruited into a good free company to do extreme savages or whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? And that's my point for the drama with Gotcha Smack and the other person. When it comes down to it, in Honkai Starrail, there is no real extreme content outside of Memory of Chaos. And while it functions the same, where you are time gated, it is a DPS rush, and you have to burst down your opponent, the differences here that are currently being made, and honestly, a lot of the things in this game can be related to this argument that I'm going to make, where the small differences in damage loss that you gain for using something that isn't biz does not matter. It really does not matter. There can be an objectively best thing in this game, but if it requires more work, if it requires you to put in more effort than what is absolutely needed, why even go for it? You can go with something that's more that's comfortable for you. You can go with something that's fun, right? You don't always have to follow what the meta is. And if the meta is this flexible, and realistically, when the damage that you're dealing doesn't really matter too much, when I say it doesn't really matter, I mean like it's a couple percent like difference. Why are we arguing about that? Why do we have to? I'm just throwing this out here as an example. This is from the Chinese bros, and from what they've researched, like the new relic set, which is the Relatant Arena compared to Inert Salsodo, that difference is only a 1.2, 1.6 difference in terms of that, in terms of like damage, and if you're running crit damage, wind, or HP, right? Why are we having senseless arguments about why this is objectively better? You don't know what you're talking about, and you're an unreliable narrator. And why are we getting into unneeded drama? It's not needed, you know? It truly is unnecessary. And this goes back to the part where the community can be quite delusional, and having that parasocial relationship is not healthy for some of you. Like, it's really unnecessary to have this argument of my 0.2 or you having 2k less HP and what 10% more damage is objectively worse because blah 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 blah, when it's really just a different playstyle preference. Or it simply is, hey, I prefer this because I have a better chance of surviving, like Gotcha Smack said, you know. The HP difference makes sense, you know. I'd rather have the 8k HP, survive longer, and objectively, you know, output a bit more in terms of and not output a bit more, that was the wrong thing to say, but the fact that I can survive a bit longer, it gives you that comfort zone, right? And if the trade-off is 10% less damage, but your HP is much lower and you're a lot squishier, it doesn't really feel too good, right? And the character you're basing this off of is someone who constantly gets hit and sacrifices their own HP in order to play their kit. Yeah, having that extra HP does make sense. And they scale off of max HP, right? And I get it, reaching that high crit damage value and everything else, having the 1-to-2 ratio, blah, 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 blah. Truly, the peak performance of this character would seem pretty crazy. But is it really necessary, right? When the other option is just as good? Like, let's be real here. If you're still trying to debate whether you want crit rate, crit damage, HP, wind boost, there is an objectively better answer, but at the end of the day, go with whatever you prefer and whatever is easier. That's what the meta really comes down to in a lot of these games. Unless it's like defining and truly game breaking, then you can go with whatever and still have fun. I'm gonna go back to like a Destiny example, right? You guys remember D1? when it was week 1 and the Gallahorn got sold, and nobody really knew what that was. But if you bought it out of like, damn, I had the resources, why not? For like what? The rest of D1's lifespan until they resold the Gallahorn, you were asked out. You had to be that guy who didn't have the Gallahorn, especially if you didn't get it dropped for you. You were in shambles your entire life of D1. While other people are dealing objectively higher damage than you, you honestly couldn't really compare to what Gallahorn was doing. It was just insane, right? It was just outputting hundreds of thousands, millions, and then the how heavy ammo like crates operated back then. You were just getting blasted. If you didn't have it, booted from the LFG team. We don't want you. Going to FGO, Castoria, Merlin, game-defining characters. Merlin is especially a game-defining character. When Merlin came out, the Buster meta was secured for years until Castoria came out. Like, if you thought about that for a split second, if you play FGO, Merlin has been around for years until Castoria dropped, right? And then the meta shifted to arts, and then we got, of course, the good old fluffy tales of light, and then Buster came back, and blah 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 blah. Like, these games have shifts and defining traits. Honkai doesn't have that. Honkai is a lot more flexible than these games, where there can be something that is just flat out broken, you must use it. Honkai does not have that. Not yet, at least. But from talking from like friends from with Genshin and this and that, even Genshin doesn't really have that, like, well, outside of like, what's his name? Kazuha, right? Outside of Kazuha, there really is no like, damn, you gotta, this is a must have, blah, 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 blah. Even Genshin does not have that. But I think Kazuha is just the example. But my friend was telling me he's just, damn, the best character in the game without question. Right? I could be wrong and misremembering him. He's the, wind guy with white hair and the katana? I think that's Kazuha. But I could be wrong. Don't kill me in the comments for that one. I'm really paraphrasing here. But point is, the unnecessary claims, unnecessary fights is really something that comes with every community, and some people will harp on it. People will jump on it. You will get attacked for just vocalizing your opinion once you're on the internet. We're on like sites where that is allowed to happen. YouTube, Twitter, Reddit, wherever, right? But you can't let that get to you. And when it comes to how people feel about video games and how drama starts, it's to be expected in these type of circles. But I really think people should just say it is what it is and just keep on going. But I understand when someone comes at you directly and they're wrong on some, you don't know what you're talking about, after you flat out proven the facts right there for you. Yes, there is no like in-game video proof, but if the numbers match up with what's being said and presented in the game, it doesn't matter. Like, at some points in an argument, and in some points when you're writing something, especially when you're writing something, less can be more. And you don't have to necessarily explain a scene in extreme detail. You can leave for the imagination, right? That's why some writers, they tend to cut things pretty short, or they tend to explain things in lesser detail. If you look at Octavia Butler, for example, and how she does her sci-fi writing, right? When you look at her, she tends to go into detail only when it's plot relevant. And when I say go into detail, it's very sparse, right? But when you look at stuff from like James Joyce, and you look at how he talks about his love for things and the way how he describes things, he's a very articulate person with his feelings, and he decides to display it. Both of these examples gets their point across, and you can understand them with less words or more words, right? It's just however you interpret it. But the information is still there. Yes, that is the important part. The information is present. We don't have to continue with this argument. It's perfectly fine. And like, I don't know. I like started talking about this because I like was just relaxing, and I just saw this, and it made me think, damn, this is kind of wild for this to be happening over something like this, you know. Like, people are a bit disappointed with 1.2 in terms of story beats, and it was being really short, but we got other content, you know. The Simulated Universe 7, Memory of Chaos, we got Blade, we got new Cabin of Corrosion, we got the new weekly boss. What else did we get? We got the new hot Dan Shu Guardian thingy enemy, right? Really hot character. Come on. Was that not worth it? I thought that was really worth it. But yeah, to like, honestly, to just reiterate my point, people really do need to just calm down with their emotions sometimes and realize that in the future, when this game develops more, it will meet your expectations. I doubt that this game will be dropped in the way that you guys think it's going to be, or it's going to be developed in a poor way. It's looking pretty slow right now, but compared to other games, or compared to no, just compared to other games, yeah, this is pretty fine so far. You know, we're only a couple of months in, not even half a year yet. We still gotta wait and see how it's gonna turn out. Just gotta wait, honestly. And I have hope for Honkai, and I think it's gonna be great. That was it for my little talk today. Honestly, I this is a little bit different from the content that I normally do. It's just me talking and reacting to other stuff. I never do, but like, just after seeing this, it's like, damn, you guys gotta take a step back. Like, just honestly relax. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and let me know how you guys feel about it in the comments. How you guys feel about 1.2 and the drama that's going on. I'll catch you guys later. All right, peace.